What is up, everybody? It's sold separately. We've got tons of figures to break down today. Good ones. Zombie Sailor Series 4. We've got some Jazwares Vault exclusives, some Amazon exclusives. We've even got a Diamond Select statue of Danhausen we're going to be talking about. We've got some defining moments figures from the WWE side as well, ringside exclusives or ringside collectibles. One of them's an exclusive, but either way, that's neither here nor there. I've got my esteemed co-host with me too, though, today, as always. Anthony, head of opinions, Ricciardi. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a little while, and we have a stacked, solid card to go through, and no better time than do it now.
Let's get right into it. Let's talk about this series 4.
Mm-hmm.
Zombie Sailor Series. We've got Bad News Allen. We've got Tajiri. We've got Abdullah the Butcher. That is Mike. Not awesome. Mike Awesome. And of course, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, sporting that crimson mask, that red blood, and that bleach blonde hair that we know oh so well when it comes to the Nature Boy. These are so fun. If it's a collectible series that you are very into for a display piece, I think this is top notch. All of them are off the charts. Anthony, and talk to me about it.
Yeah, Zombie Sailor has started making these figures. They're smaller in stature compared to an Elite or Jazwares figure, but they're highly detailed, and they're made more of the nostalgia type style of the old Hasbro's, just more advanced with the technology. When you look at this lineup, very few of these people have had a lot of figures or haven't had them in a long time. Bad News Allen, very limited. Tajiri, it's been a while. Abdullah's been a quite a long period of time. Mike Awesome, probably ECW, maybe he might have had a WCW. Flair has had a lot of them, but this is probably the only posable Crimson Mask Ric Flair that's ever been made. I know there was a big rubber guy version of him with blood that Cardona and Myers did. But for as far as a figure posing and stuff like that, this is the only one. And it's from an iconic promo that Flair cut. And, even if Flair came back and signed a Legends deal with WWE, Mattel's not making this. Mattel is
No,
not making a bloody Ric Flair.
very good point.
So, to get it, it would be, for people that are big Ric Flair fans, this is a must. This is a lineup that's unique. Everyone's different. You can see Abdullah with the chest, and it's everything is highly detailed. And I have a Danhausen and a Sabu from them, and I am more than thrilled with it. And I also have a CM Punk on order that we've covered on the previous episode.
Well, and honestly, for me, it's funny because it's a different style of figure than your classic elites. Your classic, more playable figures. It's more of a display figure, but if you look at the head scans, for example, I don't know if I've ever seen a better Tajiri head scan.
No, I don't think so
ever in my life.
Abdullah has that blank stare, which is great.
Golden.
Bad News Allen is somebody that really doesn't get a lot of credit. So it's great to see his figure. Mike Awesome obviously was ahead of his time, somebody that, unfortunately, his life ended too soon. But for him to be immortalized to this day in figure form again just shows how much of an impact he had on this business.
Absolutely, no question about it. Let's get into speaking of people that had major impacts in this business, and not to keep it on a sad note, but man, it was this something I was looking forward to. And to me, this is a must buy. I mean, yeah, you're looking at
this is not only a must buy, this is one that I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Clark. I'm sorry.
It's a Jazwares Vault exclusive. It's the Briscoe brothers. You have Jay, you have Mark. It's just perfect. Everything about it is perfect, and it's so cool. It's been a long time since we lost Jay, but not to be forgotten. Just an amazing piece. Anthony, obviously you have it. Talk to me about how good does it look in the package?
Oh, it's awesome. It's one of those ones that they're only making 6,000 of them. The moment Jazwares announced that they were going to do their own series of figures you can only get from them, this was the one everyone wanted.
Yeah.
So when they finally put it up, when you look at it, this is probably the most decorated tag team in wrestling that has never stepped foot in WWE. When you look at great teams, they're the only ones that come to mind that have never went there. And they never even appeared in AEW for other reasons. But they are without a doubt one of the greatest tag teams of all time. To go out, obviously nobody knew, but to go out in the dog collar match with FTR as your
Oh,
final match. I don't think there's a more fitting, tragic end, but you know, just a great career, Jay. Mark is obviously continuing on. Both former Ring of Honor world champions, 13-time tag champs together. And to have them finally immortalized in a really high detailed figure and not the figure toy company ones that were not exactly the best quality. It's awesome to see Jay and Mark together in a
no
great set.
doubt. And it's cool because it's on like a bigger platform in a weird way,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's posthumous when it comes to Jay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's outstanding that it was done. But let's move on before we get too
Yep.
emotional. But maybe you get emotional about this one too. We've got a Hardy Boys Jazwares Amazon exclusive, essentially, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But here's the deal: AEW, we know that they've both left AEW since.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, though, this is as throwbacky of a figure set as you can get as far as recent releases. And that was the first thing that stood out to me is this looks like old school Hardys as much as it looks like the iteration that we saw in AEW. And I think it might be worth a buy if you're somebody that's going to take them out of the box because they very much look like the old WWE Hardys.
It's a wild thing because they were in AEW for a little while, and this is
Cup
their
of
only,
coffee,
and this
basically.
is
A little, but
well, they were there for a couple years, I believe, at least
right.
2. But this is I believe this is the first line of set of figures that they have, or at least the only 2-pack to my recollection. So it is kind of funny that they're in TNA now, and now the figures come out. But I agree with you, Clark. It is classic old school Matt and Jeff Hardy. Whether you leave them in the
Yes.
package and show them that way, or whether you take them out, this is how I remember the Hardys. The fishnet shirt of Jeff. Obviously, back in the day, he wasn't doing the face paint, but it's a really cool set.
There was even the time in WWE that he was. So in a weird way, it kind of crosses multi generations.
Yes.
It's almost like if they made like a total career figure set.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like they just kind of combined everything about them throughout.
Yeah.
This would be that. And that's why I think it's kind of a cooler one than you would anticipate.
Yes.
Given the timing of the release and whatnot.
And they're great head scans too. That's the other thing.
They really are.
Because a lot of times, whether it's Mattel or Jazwares, sometimes they're hit and miss. This is absolutely a hit.
Absolutely. Let's talk about somebody we both love to talk about, and that's Danhausen. This statue, I mean, come on, it's perfect. It looks just like him. Talk to me about it, Anthony.
It's funny. He may not be on TV, but he is probably the most toyetic guy on the AEW roster now that Sting's gone. Clark and I have been big fans of Danhausen. When I agreed to do the show with Clark, he surprised me and bought me a cameo from Danhausen. So there's always that tie.
True.
This is a great detail one. We've seen Diamond Select make a few of them. They made Sting, which we covered previously. They've made a Jericho, a Moxley, and a Bryan Danielson as well. But this is just it's a great figure or statue. I believe it comes out sometime between July and September of next year. There are pre-orders up for it, which I do have it on pre-order because it's Danhausen and it's just a great looking figure.
I hear you, man. This is one that, like, yeah, it's perfect. I do wish it was playable. It's very much a statue figure.
Yes.
That's one thing. I think playability, that's something that I look for. Not that I'm still playing with action figures at my age, but I'm just saying when it comes to action figures, I think you should be able to mess with them.
I
Let's
think you
talk
can
about.
change the screen, and the screen behind him. I think they give you two different options. I
I
think.
do love that. I do love that. Okay, let's move on
Yep.
though to some defining moments, which
Yes.
is always fun. Let's
Mhm,
talk about Rob Van Dam, this
mhm.
defining moment figure. Very cool. You have the ECW world title in there. I
It,
mean,
it's
it,
the tag and the TV.
I'm sorry, it's the
Championship.
tag and the TV. It is not
Yes.
the ECW world tag title, by the way.
Yes. All right.
I honestly meant tag titles is the funniest part.
Yeah.
And I said, I was like, oh, say world tag title and
Yeah.
just absolutely whiffed that. That's on me, audience. I apologize. But yeah, it's genuinely an ECW figure. I love it. You have the airbrushed gear.
Yeah.
I think it looks great. You're from Philly. Talk to me about
Yeah.
that one, Anthony.
You know, RVD's had a lot of figures over the years, a lot. Which eventually, probably at some point, we'll probably cover a bunch of RVD in tribute one. But the airbrush with the dragon, with the white, it's a great look. Him holding the two titles that he never lost, he had to relinquish due to an injury. With the TV, the tag I don't remember. I don't remember whether they lost or he relinquished both. But the TV, I know he had to relinquish after I want to say 23 months. I
Something
could
like
be
that.
something like that. But you know, this is iconic ECW RVD. So if you're looking for an iconic RVD from that peak era, that late 90s era RVD before he went to WWE and TNA and AEW and all that, this is the RVD for you.
It is a great figure, and I'm with you. Yeah, it's pretty dang perfect. And even if you're a WWE RVD fan, it
Mm-hmm.
still fits the same aesthetic, and you're going to get two extra belts that you wouldn't get otherwise. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's kind of a must buy. If you're a
Yep.
fan of Rob Van Dam, this one cracks me up.
Yes.
We're talking about Kane defining moments. It's a ringside collectibles exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
This is from the Inferno match.
Yes.
I love the idea of the Cheeto being attached to his right arm. But am I not the only one that thinks it's a Cheeto attached to his right arm, Anthony?
Oh, it's absolutely a Cheeto. I believe it does come with some other flames too for like the background, like he's walking through the fire.
Right.
But you know, this is one of those iconic things that, like, you know, this was after his first match with Undertaker at WrestleMania 14. This was the very next show, which was Unforgiven. It was the Inferno match, like Clark mentioned. And it's iconic when Kane lost. Now, you look at it and he had plastic on his arm. And the way Kane left was he's looking at the arm and going like this, which, you know, it's still wild thinking about it because I
Yeah.
would love to know what was going through his head.
So
Where,
one
like, even though it's, you know, they did it as safe as they could. If you're seeing your arm on fire, I don't care who you are, you're freaking out. I'm
one thing
sorry.
that bothers me about this figure though is if I remember correctly, it was one of the few times that Kane wore long sleeves on both arms. And the
No,
left arm is exposed. I believe that he had long sleeves in the Inferno match
I
on
believe.
both arms.
I believe what you're thinking about. The first time he wore the long sleeves on both sides was the first blood match with Austin.
That could be right.
That's what it was. He was still wearing the one side on
He
this
had
one.
the one on the Inferno. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The first blood he did it because they made a big deal about the fact that, oh, you know, you can't see blood on that arm now. Like that was the only time I preferred the single arm like this.
That's right.
But that's the iconic look. But yeah, it's a defining moment. 1998 Inferno match Kane, which has never been done before.
Definitely a big time figure. And if you're a fan of that match and if you're a fan of Kane, definitely a must buy.
Yeah.
Speaking of moments, crazy
Yes.
to think how many CM Punk figures we've seen of late.
Yeah.
But we've got another one. We've got a defining moments, a ringside exclusive CM Punk in an Austin t-shirt.
Yes.
Believe it or not, Pipe Bomb City.
Yep.
Talk to me about this one, Ant.
I mean, Punk has had a lot of figures, and you know, you could do an entire series of defining moments just on Punk because there's very few guys that have had as many defining moments on his career like Punk has. I mean, it's insane when I think about the number of defining, quote unquote, defining moments of Punk figures I have. Technically, it's not a defining moment, but I have the ice cream bar one. Technically, that was in AEW, but it's a defining moment.
Well, I mean, even like the dog collar match one with MJF.
Yes, that's
like
another
I
one.
have that. I have that figure. It's
Yeah.
like it's right there.
But the pipe bomb one is so iconic because it was the promo that he cut where everyone believed he was leaving the company. His contract was running out. His last match was scheduled for Money in the Bank against Cena and for the WWE Championship. Everyone assumed that was it. It was in his hometown of Chicago, as Clark knows.
Yep.
And there was the shock heard around the world when he won that. But the moment itself, the pipe bomb, is when he dropped Colt Cabana's name on air. Said, "Hey, Colt,
Ring of Honor, New Japan.
Ring of Honor, New Japan." Said he was a Paul Heyman guy. Paul Heyman was on the outs on the company when he did that. And he buried Triple H. He buried Stephanie. There's an irony there when you think about it, where he's like, when Vince is gone, the doofus son-in-law will be running it. And now they're best friends as Punk made his return. So there's an irony of that the company is in better hands. When you talk about that promo and the full circle that took place in the amount of time from there to today.
It's just iconic. It's the pipe bomb. There's nothing else you can say about it, right? The microphone gets cut off and it's like, oh, you wish you could hear what he was going to say next. It was so golden. It's a great moment, and it's a great figure for WWE to release here as a defining moments figure, I think, no doubt. But that does bring us to the end of the show, Anthony. Believe it or not.
Yep.
Tune in more sold separately for all of your figure scoops, all of your collectible scoops, and more importantly, just some fun. Tune in. We'll talk to everybody soon, and have a great day. On behalf of me and Anthony, thank you so much.